Well, hey there, thanks for stopping in to Nite Shift Video. My name is James, and this guy is...
I'm Cody.
And we have a topic for you tonight.
Ooh.
I would like to just kind of run through maybe some of our anticipated movies of 2020, looking forward into the year.
Yeah, I'm pretty excited you brought this topic up because I knew that there were movies out there that we had talked about.
Mm-hmm.
None of which I really knew when to anticipate them.
Right.
So it was like, oh, this is on the radar and this is on the radar. And we've seen a couple trailers. It's like, okay, but when can I actually expect these?
Mm-hmm.
And like, come to find out, a couple of them have been trying to get out for a while. And so
Sure.
it's like, okay, maybe limit those expectations. But then I dug into some new stuff that looks very interesting. Also, a couple that look very interesting in a completely different way. But we'll see. Hey, you know what? Yeah, it was nice to kind of get in it. And you sent me a couple links. I will warn you, I watched no trailers.
Okay.
Because, so here's the thing. Some of my most anticipated don't have trailers.
Yeah.
So like
That's kind of where we're at right now.
So I'm kind of like, this is for my own meta conversation with myself. Like I want to look back and be like, okay, he adequately kind of judged this based off characters, directors,
Sure.
story possibilities, not just like, oh, that trailer was poorly done, but this one seems so much better because it doesn't even have a trailer or vice versa.
Right.
So we'll see. I will probably be totally wrong, but that's okay.
Yeah.
I'm willing to go for it.
Cool. And I have a lot of things listed out here, and we don't even have to talk about all of them. And I watched some trailers, but like you said, a lot of these don't have trailers.
Oh, some of...
But I feel like we should start off with a movie that's already out.
Okay.
That, I mean, I guess is fairly well known.
Yeah.
Which would be the Grudge remake.
Yeah.
Came out January 3rd. So it's been out for a couple weeks now.
And maybe I'm embarrassed, or maybe I feel like maybe not. I'm not embarrassed. I'm not embarrassed to say I haven't heard nothing about it.
I haven't heard nothing.
And I think I feel like if it was good, we would have heard something.
Mm-hmm.
And I think everybody, and when I say everybody, I mean like the 10 people who in my life who are super avid horror movie fans, and my dad, because my dad and I saw this in theaters when I was
okay.
I don't know, it was that would have made me middle school, I think.
Yeah.
The original, like OG original Grudge. And so he was like, "Ooh, I saw a new Grudge coming out." We both hated it. Like we saw it in theaters, we both hated it. And I feel like for some reason maybe it came out right around White Noise.
Yeah, sounds right.
And I just remember like there's like we tried to do horror for a second. Like when I finally like was old enough and my dad was like, yeah, I didn't have to fight my mom on it anymore. Mm-hmm. And like there were just like 3 or 4 just not great ones.
It was just that rough early 2000s era.
Yeah. So anyway, I mean, I'm not against the series.
You know, I watched the trailer for this today.
Oh, really?
The trailer looks really good.
Okay. I heard it was like a complete reimagining. Really, they're only using the monster, right? Like
the basic idea of like ghost kid with long wet hair, and there's a lot of hair.
Scary.
Saw a lot of wet hair in the movie.
I don't know if you guys have kids out there.
No.
Kids with wet hair. It's scarier than kids with dry hair.
Oh, just wet hair, period.
Yeah.
If you have long hair, you've looked in the shower.
Oh, yeah.
You know what it looks like.
Oh, yeah.
It's bad.
Oh, yeah.
None of us like it.
Especially when your significant other leaves it like balled up on the wall. I don't know if everybody's does that, but mine does. It's just like I don't.
Hayden just lets it clog the drain, and then I gotta come clean it out every like 3 weeks or so. It's awful.
Oh no, I don't know what happens in her shower sessions, but half of her hair ends up on our wall, and supposedly that's where you're supposed to keep it. Anyway, yeah, I feel like. I feel like it's one of those like we'll probably get around to it eventually. I'm certainly not racing to the theaters to see it.
Yeah. We'll just kind of bounce back and forth here. So I'll let you bring one up.
Yeah. So the first, I'm going kind of chronologically of the ones that interested me. So if we kind of go back and forth in time, like sorry to the viewer or the listener.
So not chronologically at all.
No, but no, yeah,
your
yeah.
personal interest level
Yeah.
is your ordering system.
Kinda.
I wrote them down chronologically.
Yeah, well,
because I'm a sweetheart like that.
well, see, so no, we're getting close because
Okay.
like my first one comes out the January 24th, yours comes out the 24th.
Uh-huh.
So like if we go back and forth, like we'll
Yeah.
stay close.
Okay.
But it's not going to be perfect.
Yeah.
So my first is and again, I haven't watched any trailers, so I know that there's a trailer out for this, and it might look like it sucks, but just from the synopses, that's not a word.
Synopses?
Yep, there they are.
Or the synopsis?
Yeah, that's what I found.
Is there one or more than one?
I think it was just one.
Okay, it's a synopsis.
But then I found like, little these people.
Okay.
There's always the person who's like, this is the best movie ever. The Turning. This I feel like this is a classic storyline, not super original, and I get that. But also there's so much to do with that, right? Like it's
Yeah.
just like it's a blank canvas. Like, hey, we gotta set this horror movie up. Let's pretend like this girl who doesn't know how to watch kids is watching these kids, right?
Yeah.
And so like really the only little blurb I'll give you, girl watching a niece and nephew, invited by this uncle that she doesn't really know to be a governess, and creepy stuff starts happening.
Yeah,
Like,
that's the one that's based off of Turning of the Screw, right?
yes.
Yeah.
And so like again, like there's another one on here that's based on like a very famous short that I have. And it's like that is cool. Like
Yeah.
kind of goes back to, and maybe this is just a recent interest I have, but like getting to some reimaginings, right? Like take the classic, breathe some new life into it. Let's just see where it goes.
Yep.
Might be awful,
Yep.
but
Nope.
yeah.
I think it's good. I think too that like a lot of these kind of more classic literature short stories are really the creepy pastas of yesteryear.
oh yeah,
So like, a lot of those stories would like take on a life of their own, and like
Yep.
whenever someone is retelling it to someone else orally, and like it just things change and
Changes
like
a little bit.
that's how urban legends are born.
Well, and I feel like so many people, as strange as high school is, like you read some of those.
Oh yeah.
Right? Like I just in my English class, we just read The Lottery, which is like a really messed up story out of I think
Which
it was
is-
the Atlantic or New
Yep.
Yorker,
Which is cool
1975,
and been adapted and
1947. Sorry.
like copped in different
Yeah.
ways by different movies or stories or whatever.
Yeah, and so it's like
really intense.
and a lot of people can feel that inspiration, whether you really stay true to the story, whether you divert a little bit, like people get the sense of what you're trying to accomplish. So
Yep.
anyway, I don't know. It might suck. We'll see.
So I mean, staying on the literature route, the next one I have is Color Out of Space,
Oh,
which
it's on my list too.
we have talked about the trailer to this movie previously, and just kind of given some initial thoughts. There are things in the trailer that make it look, but there are some things in the trailer that make it look, okay, I'm on board.
Which isn't that like every Lovecraftian film? Like
Absolutely.
so,
And this is a story that hasn't really been adapted
yeah.
ever. So
And it looks just wild.
wild.
And-
And it's from the creators of Mandy, which
Yep.
also has Nicolas Cage in it. This movie has Nicolas Cage in it. And we haven't seen Mandy. And I
Nope.
think if we had, maybe we'd be in a much different headspace for this movie.
Yeah.
Because I feel like Mandy was definitely kind of a hater to love it. And so the people who loved it are so excited for Color Out of Space.
Yeah.
And instead we're just like pretty excited for Color Out of Space.
Yeah, and I feel like it's really the only reason I'm kind of excited is like because halfway through the trailer I was like, man, this movie looks awful, and then like the other half it's like, wow, I'm hooked. And so
Right.
like if a movie can make me feel that in 90 seconds in a trailer, whatever, like 2 minutes in a trailer,
Yep.
it's worth it. It's I don't know, in my book, worth a shot.
Yep, I'm sure we'll definitely be covering it this year. That's for damn sure.
Yeah.
I did want to bring up this one because I think it looks bad.
I saw it on your list and I was like, oh, we're having this conversation.
This is this list isn't necessarily things that I want to watch.
Okay.
It's more just things that caught my attention, and they may have caught my attention in a bad way.
Sure.
I've seen a few trailers now for Gretel and Hansel.
Oof.
I think it looks like trash. I am not looking forward to this movie. I won't be watching it purposefully. If it comes out and people lose their minds over it, maybe I'll circle around and check it out. But it does not look good. And the disappointing thing is it's from Oz Perkins,
I saw that.
who made Blackcoat's Daughter, which
Yeah.
we really liked.
Yeah. I just don't. I feel like this is one of those movies where like I don't know if it's like production house director, like somebody just got roped into something.
Yeah.
And it was less of original design or like opportunity and more of like I have this commitment.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I don't know.
It looks bad. So this is a trailer that I saw before we got into today. Like,
I think they might have played it before Star Wars.
Maybe.
Or something.
I don't know.
Something I've seen in theaters recently. I saw the trailer for it. So
it looks bad. Yeah. Anyway.
Yeah. What you got?
So mine, jumping to a March release here.
Okay.
Just because there wasn't much out there, but there was a lot of praise. So that can get goofy in a couple ways. But it's called Saint Maud.
Okay, yeah.
And it's coming out at the end of March. And essentially, quick rundown is a nurse becomes obsessed with saving a patient's soul. And, you know, horror ensues. Like, and they said it was kind of a psych thriller. It kind of sounds like it could go a couple different directions. Maybe it's kind of that religious culty thing.
Right.
Maybe it's an exorcism thing. Maybe it's like a fake exorcism. So I was thinking, like, how many different ways could they play the story out? Again, limited knowledge, just looking at pictures, looking at a couple brief. But there was like from what I found, very little on it. Tons of praise.
Yeah.
So we'll see. But it just seems like another pretty vague blank canvas.
Sure.
But I'm interested.
Yep. Cool. I saw that one, but I didn't really look too much into it. It just didn't grab me from the start. I'm gonna hit 2 in February, going back just a bit, that I'm also not excited for. So I don't have to talk about them.
Oh, thank goodness. Okay.
The first is Brahms, which is The Boy 2. Which we watched The Boy, and it's okay.
It's okay.
It doesn't need a sequel for
No,
any
it doesn't.
I literally cannot fathom a reason why this movie needs to be made.
I can think of one. Katie Holmes. Call me a child of the 90s. I'm in. I'm just kidding.
No, we're not in.
It looks bad.
Like, the first one was interesting enough. I had a kind of funny twist, and like that's where it was. But like, why does there need to be another one?
Yeah, and the fact that like even the title, like Brahms,
The
Boy 2. Like,
anytime you have a title and then your subtitle is your sequel name, it's not gonna be good. Because let me remind you, another movie that did that was oh shit, what was the full title called? It was Book of Shadows, The Blair Witch 2, I think is what it was called, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah. You're right. Oh.
Anytime you have a situation like that.
That's a bad situation.
It's a bad omen. It's a bad omen. Your movie's going to suck. Sorry.
Yep. Lost World, Jurassic Park. Are there lovers out there for Lost World?
I don't know. Maybe. I think
I don't mean to open up another.
I know. I think Jurassic Park kind of puts itself in a little bit of a weird place just because wasn't the original book titled The Lost World, but then they took the book that took the name of the park instead of taking the name of the book for the movie.
I think you're right.
And so
I think you're right.
I think things are a little complicated.
Right. There it is.
But I will say the movie's not great. It's definitely not great.
Kind of sticks to our equation.
It's a very typical 90s sequel.
But I think you're right. I forgot about the title stuff.
Yep. Okay, and then I had Invisible Man, which is Blumhouse is getting their hands dirty in the Universal Monsters IP. And it was supposed to be kind of a good thing, kind of a saving grace, because the Mummy movie was so terrible that they went to Blumhouse was like, hey, you actually make horror movies. Can you help us with this thing? Because we want to make the Universal Monsters a thing again, and they're not. Yeah. And I saw the trailer for Invisible Man, and it's god awful, just god awful.
Oh no!
It just looks horrible. I don't even know why they're choosing the story that they've chosen. I don't like it. Basically, it focuses on this woman who was married to this guy who was like a sociopath and very controlling and things like that. And he dies, and then she thinks he's haunting him. Yeah. But it's because he found a way to make himself invisible and became the Invisible Man. So he's still like controlling her, even though he's dead, but he's not actually dead. And I'm just like, why? Like, there's so many things you can do with the Invisible Man. And I never see him as like this type of monster, I guess. Right. As more as like, he's almost like one of the good guys who's just a victim of circumstance. Yeah. And that's not really how this movie is painting him.
Yeah. Well, so my problem is, like, he's probably one of my least favorite the Universal monsters. Just, I don't know, least interesting. Maybe it's because that storyline that you were kind of hitting on. Also, there's kind of several, or there have been, or there will be, kind of these like invisible force.
Oh yeah, this looks like Hollow Man 4.
It looks like Hollow Man 4. There's another one coming out a little bit later. I can't remember what it's called. It does look a little bit better, but it looks kind of like It Follows. Yeah. And then there's another one. Oh, there's one. I forget what the title is, but like the guy, his wife disappears, and then all of a sudden this monster's trying to get into his house. And again, it's like you could go with like the claustrophobic thriller or the world caving in, but like a lot of these just kind of like weird psych bender, like invisible people. Like I don't know. Yep. It's starting to lose its edge on me, and so it's just I'm not too thrilled about it.
Yep.
Anyway.
Yep. Next up, March 20th release date. I have A Quiet Place 2. You got something for this?
Are we getting into? Is this where A Quiet Place and Bird Box meet?
Maybe it might also be where something about it just really gave me Walking Dead vibes.
Yeah,
and I mean, clearly we know that as a show was kind of beat to death. And so not really super excited for Quiet Place 2. I didn't hate the first movie.
No, it was very good.
But
very good.
Again, just don't really see why this needs to be a thing.
Yeah, and I feel like, sometimes in those first ones, they're so intentional, right? They were so intentional about learning sign language, and they were so intentional about the sound of the movie. And like, if we get all of that in new places, if they just did that again, I'd be like, okay,
that's fine.
I could just watch the original because it's really good.
Right. But I have a feeling it's going to have a very typical sequel thing, and it's just going to be more action heavy. It's going to be aliens to Alien, and we're just repeating patterns in Hollywood all over again.
Yep. I was a little sad.
Yeah.
That was coming out. I mean, this is a title that we've talked about a while ago.
Sure.
Just let good things be good things. Like,
yep.
I don't know. Says the guy who loves Halloween. So I get it.
What's the next one on your list there?
My next one is this seems really interesting. I had not heard of this movie. It's called Antlers. And it sounds incredible. So for those who are not familiar, it's based on the short story The Quiet Boy. If you haven't read that, you should. It's very good. This is also a Del Toro film.
Del Toro.
So it's going to be visually stunning.
Absolutely.
If nothing else.
Yep.
It's going to be visually just off the hook. And then I thought there was it's about a kid who's messed up in Oregon, teacher, a little drama there. I don't know. It's there's so much there that could be so promising.
Yeah, I think this one's on a lot of people's radar right now. I'd seen like the poster and people being like, "Oh, this is coming out this year. Oh my god!" And I'm just like, "What the fuck is Antlers?" Like,
yeah.
And then I finally watched the trailer today.
Oh,
and I'm interested. I also feel from the trailer this might be the closest to a actual horror movie that Del Toro has ever made.
Really?
He always is in sort of this like dark gothic fantasy arena, but like very rarely are his films like straight up horror movies.
Yeah.
And this one feels, at least from the trailer, which obviously we know trailers can be interpreted a million different ways and cut a million different ways. But from the trailer, it looks like this is a grade A horror movie.
Fantastic.
Which I'm pumped for.
I'm in.
Because I was stoked about Crimson Peak, and it was not a horror movie.
Looked incredible.
It was
not a horror movie.
It was a great gothic fantasy.
Yep.
But it was not a horror movie.
Not a horror movie.
Just because there was ghosts did not make it a horror movie.
Yep. Nope.
Next on my list is the untitled Saw sequel.
I'm so glad that you put this on your list.
Coming May 15th. There's not a lot about this out there. They're keeping a lot of details under wraps.
Yeah, but I see you got a couple names on there that I also made in notes.
Too. So I had heard the rumor a long time ago that Chris Rock was going to be involved with this movie.
Yep.
And apparently he is writing it and starring in it.
Oh my gosh.
And he's starring alongside Samuel L. Jackson.
What could be better?
I know. I feel like even if the movie is horrendous, it's still gonna be so much fun, right?
We gotta get these motherfucking noodles. Wait, noodles? Needles. That gun. I was so pumped for the next word. I said noodles. Oh, I gotta get these motherfucking needles out of this motherfucking pit. I'm not even gonna do my Chris Rock impression. It's gonna be even worse.
Let's not do that.
Oh gosh, I'm sorry. I think
I should have known you were gonna smack the table.
I know. So I said a long time ago. Well, it was one of our guest calls, and I said like I would like to see. I feel like they got so into just making the bigger and better. Actually, I watched a really funny, and for those who listen to the show, that you know I'm not a huge Kim Peele fan. I love Jordan Peele.
Yep.
I don't love their show. I watched a really funny bit where they like just keep one-upping at the end of like an action movie, and I feel like that's what Saul did, where it's just like, you didn't know you were in a puzzle, and then at the end it's like, you didn't know you were in a puzzle. It's like, but you're in a puzzle of a puzzle of a puzzle. It's like, oh, stop. Like,
it's the cube.
No. And so I feel like there was more that they could have done there. Like, get back to the root, right? Like, get back to that first Saul where, like, yes, we do get some of that, but most of it is tied around these strangers and their stories coming together. And then, boom, by the way, the dude was laying on the floor the whole time. Like, huge twist, not a huge body count, very intriguing. So, I don't know. I think it's going to be awful, but I had it on my list too.
Yep.
Got my attention.
If nothing else, it's going to be interesting.
Yep.
Hit me with a couple more things on your list.
Okay. I got next one up is Candyman.
Good God.
And I am so excited. So we recently, for those who have not listened very long, we just watched the original, 6 months ago, maybe not even that long ago.
It was about a year.
Oh,
because it was our decades episode.
Oh my
god! And we kind of started that right away. So,
jeez Louise.
Yep.
Anyway,
but still, we watched Candyman for the first time in 2019.
Yeah, and we were all just blown away. Like, hey, yeah, we were missing out on the classic. There it is.
And we didn't watch any of the sequels because I've heard they kind of do basically the same thing that the Hellraiser sequels do. So we just didn't even start.
Nope. But some names here. Jordan Peele, Tony Todd. Do I need to say more? Like,
no.
I'm very excited for this film.
Yep.
I'm very excited.
Yep.
Another one on here. I got, so there's really nothing that I could find out there, but it's called Malignant.
Malignant, yep.
And it's a James Wan film, which I know can be dangerous realm.
But I would say he is always the best at doing the first film.
Yeah, no, I agree. Yeah.
Every like almost every like big blockbuster like AAA horror title where he does the first one becomes a yearly franchise.
Yeah.
I mean, that's how we got Saw.
Yeah.
That's how we got The Conjuring.
Yep.
Like that is his forte. He will do the first movie and it will be bitchin'. And then whoever is producing it will come along and say, let's do more of that, and they'll just hire
10.
They'll just hire fucking whoever to film it, and then the drives everything to the ground. But like James Wan, brand new IP, it's gonna be good. There's no way that it's just not gonna be good.
Yep. And I hear rumors. I don't know how much I can stake any claim to this, but it's supposed to be a Giallo film.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I mean, like, just some things that we have been kind of exposed to, and Candyman same way. Like, we really kind of took a dive into that idea in this last year, and so it's just like, man, there's a couple things there that really are grabbing my attention. And then the last on my list is Halloween, and we've talked about that one. It could be awful, it could be great. It really doesn't matter. I'm going to go see it, and I'm going to be, no matter how I walk out of that theater of that production, I will be excited for the next one too. Yeah. Because either it's going to be great and I'm going to be and I'm anticipating being let down, or it's going to be vice versa. Either way, I'm going to go see it. They already got my $15 or whatever a movie ticket is.
Yep, that's true. So a couple other things that we have coming out this year. The Conjuring's newest film, I think it's number 4.
I think so.
In the mainline Conjuring series, if I'm not mistaken. They're ditching numbers now. So
okay.
It's just The Conjuring.
That makes it easy.
Yeah. It's just The Conjuring, The Devil Made Me Do It. It is based off of the Amityville story. which is where that phrase kind of originates from.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, is that that's become kind of very cliche.
Yeah.
For a very long time, especially people who grew up in Christian households. Like we've heard that a million times.
Yep.
But it apparently kind of originated from that real life case of the Lutz family.
Huh.
And like I said, I think James Wan is great at starting things, and then people see that they can make money off of a thing that he started, and so they keep making things. I have not seen The Conjuring 2 or 3. I liked the first one a lot.
I think I saw the second one.
Yeah.
And I did not see the third one.
Yeah. We've watched a few of the spinoff movies. Yep. Most of them haven't been great.
Yeah. Yeah.
I guess there was only 2, though, wasn't there? There was just The Curse of La Llorona, which was like our worst movie ever, and then The Nun, which we also didn't really like.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
You'll hear more about Cody and The Nun in a future episode coming in a couple weeks.
Cody and the Nun.
But yeah, the trailer looked fine.
Yeah.
It seems weird for The Conjuring to kind of steal the Amityville story, seeing as there's already a series of Amityville horror movies.
Yeah.
But I mean, there's nothing saying they can't. Apparently, Elizabeth Warren and I forget the husband's name. The Warrens were involved in it. I want to say Lloyd. I know that's not right. Sorry, Warren family.
Lloyd. It's really gonna be bad when his name is actually Lloyd, and I just laughed really hard.
But anyway, apparently they actually were involved somewhat with the Lutz family, so like it makes sense that they make a movie of it. It just seems weird.
Yeah.
But yeah, and then even so, just like the Amityville horror film, so the original in the 70s, and then also the one that came out with, like Ryan Reynolds, wasn't it?
Yep.
Like fucking crazy, but it was decent in like the 2000s.
It was okay. Yeah.
Both of them, like, I feel like told the story really well, and they actually modeled the house off of the original house really well. If you look at pictures of the house and everything, so like, I think it's gonna be really hard for The Conjuring to do this story and it not feel like I'm just seeing the same thing play out again.
Yeah. And yeah, I was gonna add more, and that's it.
Yeah.
That's my fear. Is like, oh hey, I'm watching the third reanimation of this. Like,
right.
Yeah, okay. Woo.
It's a classic American ghost story.
Yeah. Seen it a couple times.
How many times do we have to make a movie about it? I don't know.
Yeah. Especially when the other ones are okay.
Yeah.
I mean,
it's not like they were terrible.
One, I feel like the first one was kind of a like for our age range, it was kind of one of those generational films where it was like, ooh, have you seen this movie? Like, this is this is where I kind of stake my claim of I solved this, and now I'm into scary movies. Like,
right, that's true.
Okay, like I guess we could try.
I think it came out like 77 or something like that.
Yeah, it's like like okay, whatever.
Yeah. A couple other things I'm going to run down real quick. We have Last Night in Soho coming out September 25th. This is from Edgar Wright, who did Shaun of the Dead, as well as like Scott Pilgrim, the rest of the Coronado trilogy. So Hot Fuzz, and what was the last one? Something about the end of the world. I forget the title of it right now.
Is that the Alien one?
I don't. Edgar Wright may have directed Paul. I'm not sure if he did or not. But
that's what I was thinking of.
I mean, that's his jam. So like, stoked for it. Glad to see him coming back to horror. It looks like it will be much more spooky and not quite as comedy as like Shaun of the Dead.
That was gonna be my question. Is this gonna be a comedy or?
Yeah, I'm sure it will have funny parts.
Let's keep saying the exact same thing.
God bless. Yep, I think there'll be comedy in it, but I don't think it will be as much of a horror comedy as Shaun of the Dead.
Yeah.
Next up, we have the new interpretation of The Witches, the Roald Dahl book.
This caught my attention. I don't know why I didn't put it on my list. I'm a huge Roald Dahl fan, and I'm oh gosh, what's his name? Who's doing this? This is a Zemeckis film.
Yeah,
Zemeckis. I would argue a lot of his movies don't necessarily come off in theaters as the best, but he's always at the cutting edge of things. Like this new animation where you model it after people's faces.
Yeah.
Like he came up with this. I think it was for Polar Express, and then he's done it again. He did the Jim Carrey Christmas Carol. He
right.
was the one who invented the idea of interposing historical figures and like just dubbing a part of them, like their mouth, and spinning it pretty quick to make it look pretty much what our modern day, like what's it called when you do the thing on the program where you do the not clip art where you blend the pictures. I can't think of the term. Anyway, he did that in Forrest Gump.
That's right. He did do that.
Like that was Robert
Yeah.
Zemeckis. What's that called? When you do the
I feel like there's a lot of things that you
well,
can
like
use to describe that.
no. Like I take my picture and I put it with Eric Clapton. It's like, hey, this is my buddy. And like, no, you didn't take a picture with Eric Clapton. What's that called?
I guess today they just would typically call it Photoshop.
Photoshop. That's what I was looking for.
Okay.
That's the term I was looking for. Yeah,
Great.
that's it.
Great. Okay.
Anyway, Robert Zemeckis, good stuff.
Yeah, The Witches, interesting. I think every year we need at least one really good kids horror movie. I think they're important. I will stand by the fact that Scary Stories to Tell in the Dark was not that bad, and yeah. So I'm excited for The Witches, if nothing else, to show it to my 7-year-old.
There you go.
Next up, we have, well, you already brought up Halloween Kills, also coming out October 16th. And then I did want to bring up Fear Street.
Yeah.
There's a Fear Street movie coming out. Very little is really known about it, but it's cool. Fear Street is a 90s book series from R.L. Stine that actually kind of predates Goosebumps.
Yeah.
It was more for high schoolers versus Goosebumps being for like late elementary and middle school. And so it kind of had some more adult themes. We actually produce a show that my wife does, a podcast called Stroll Down Fear Street. And they talk about all the Fear Street books, the Feel Street books.
The Feel Story books.
They talk about all the Fear Street books. And so they'll definitely be covering this film on there as well. But yeah, I mean, nothing else. Cool to see classic, IP kind of come back to the forefront.
Absolutely.
I know R.L. Stine did a new version of Fear Street. I want to say like 2015-ish.
Oh, really?
Where like he wrote a new novel that was more in the vein of what young adult novels look like now.
Oh, okay.
So like the original Fear Street books, they're like tiny pocket-sized paperbacks.
Yep.
If you're a big reader, you can probably read one in a sitting if you really tried.
Yeah.
And then obviously that was before young adult as a genre really existed. It was just you had books for kids and books for adults.
Yep.
Now we've grown to the point where like Harry Potter is young adult. I think that was one of the big game changers. Like
It's crazy.
you could have a 2,000-page book and it be written for young adults.
Yeah.
Where that never really existed before. And so he kind of made a new book that's like much thicker and much more adult and like kind of follows, modern young adult trends
That's really cool.
versus, the stuff that he was writing in the 90s. So
I didn't realize he did that.
I don't know. It was supposed to be the first in a new series of Fear Street. I don't know that it sold very well, so it probably just didn't really take off because it's like a nostalgia brand that's getting rebooted. So like the kids who it's made for don't have nostalgia for it, and then the adults that have nostalgia for it, it's nothing like what they have nostalgia for. So it's like what,
Oh. Yeah.
It's like the opposite of the Transformers phenomenon.
Yeah, that's a sad fall through the cracks.
Right.
Like,
So I'm not sure how well it did. I worked at a bookstore when it came out. Not a lot of people were talking about it, except me, and I didn't read it. And I knew about it.
Hey, you see this cool book? Have you read it?
But I also knew it was written for 14-year-old girls, so I didn't read it.
Yeah.
But, so I don't know if this new movie is taking kind of from the 90s source material or if it's taking from, like, the new book source material. But either way, it's pretty cool. It's happening.
good.
So,
For sure.
anything else?
Nope.
Cool. Well, you know what? For Nite Shift Video, my name is James, and this guy is...
I'm Cody.
We're just saying, thanks for stopping in.